When a series of shipping disasters points to a mysterious sea monster, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson leave the comfort of Baker Street and board a freighter where they encounter unexpected betrayal and come face to face with the enigmatic Captain Nemo and his submarine, the Nautilus. As they delve deeper into the case, they uncover a conspiracy involving a Russian Tsar with an airship that rains destruction on unsuspecting cities. With time running out and the world on the brink of war, the heroes must use all their skills and resources to stop a massive conspiracy and prevent global conflict. From Eisner-winning writer Mike Barron and illustrator Richard Bonk, dive into the depths of adventure and unravel the mysteries of the sea with the world's greatest detective in Leviathan. Order now at baroncomics.com.
The Madness Comic Network and Comic-Related Madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. What time is it? It's time for some coffee talk. I am not from New York. How y'all doing? Say hi to me in the chat. Good morning. I hope you brought your coffee. We're going to hang out for a couple hours and talk nerdy. We're going to talk comics. We're going to talk crowdfunding. We're going to talk all sorts of stuff. And my guest today, I would claim, I can see you in the background. Let's see his reaction. Is a super nerd. Yeah, I see you. Yes. Does all the things. Oh no. Here we go. You know what is great? The movie The History of the World. I shall reserve my opinion on that until I actually see it because I haven't seen it. But we'll work on that. We'll see. Tom's just trying to use his influence to have people watch some of the things that he likes. So we'll see. I don't know. I think, Tom, you and I doesn't include Canada. Sorry, Ray. Doesn't include you. I really think that Tom and I have like similar tastes in movies for the most part. I just don't have nearly the amount of time to watch movies. So, yeah. What's going on with Path of the Pale Rider? Do you want to know? Issue 5 is completely fulfilled. I got to drop some boxes, books at Geek Out this weekend. I'm excited. So if you're going to be in Burleson, Texas this weekend, come see me on Sunday. I'll have some hot sauce. I don't have a ton left because I just made a huge batch and shipped it all out to the backers, but I'll have some. And I'll be there with books. Issue number 5 is available. I'll have trade paperbacks. I have all the good stuff, and I will be signing books. So I'll be happy to be there. It's a good time to get involved because story's about to take off, and Christmas is coming. So if you don't need it for yourself because you already got one, start your apocalypse zombie Western loving friend on Path of the Pale Rider. I got a ton of merch that people don't know I have. So at some point I should probably make a video showing you guys all the stuff I have because you don't even know that I have it. So other than that, we're gearing up for the next issue because that's what we do. So if you guys haven't signed up for the pre-launch, it is live. I'm going to drop the link right in the chat for you. And it's just, you can go to Kickstarter and just search Path of the Pale Rider. We pop up. Look for the one with the big boy James. He is there. And this is going to launch on February 1st. We'll do a launch party. We'll do all that stuff. Hopefully I set everything up right this time. Stupid. But yeah, so there's going to be a ton of really cool stuff on here. And some of it's only going to be in the add-ons. Like, I'm not going to make as many tiers as I did last time, but I will make them like fully customizable. So you'll be able to like add on hot sauce. I'll have the hot sauce sampler because that one was pretty popular, but single bottle of hot sauce will be in the add-on. We're still going to do t-shirts. We're still going to do secret reward. We're going to do some, some good stuff, but like, you can add on a hoodie. You can add on, what's the new one? Oh, I made 8 bottles of this jackfruit hot sauce, and we called it Jack's Revenge because it was from the jackfruit that we murdered on the show. Jack the Ripper. Yeah. So you can consume Jack's flesh and he can get some revenge because I think it's pretty hot. I had someone beta test it. Hey, Lou. I had someone beta test it and they said it was not that hot. And I really think that he has no taste buds because there's like 15 jalapenos in the batch, which was supposed to make 12, but only made 8. So the ratio there is off. I don't know. Anywho, sign up for Path of the Pale Rider number 6. Jude St. Clair is in a pretty precarious situation. There's like 2 more boxes that were delayed because of the snow that went through the Midwest. But pretty soon I'm going to talk spoilers about issue number 5 because there's a ton of stuff in there. And we got to talk about the dog. We got to talk about that dog. So, and so if you're not in the Path of the Pale Rider group, make sure you join our group because we're going to be discussing this dog. The dog's name is Sad Pancake. And you guys named him. So I don't know what's wrong with you. Enough about me. Let's bring in our guest today. You all know him as DM Ray, a.k.a. Ray Jamison, your favorite Canadian. Here he is. Even more popular than Ryan Reynolds and Celine Dion.
Reynolds, Todd McFarlane. Lots of Canadians. They're just not commonly understood as Canadians. They kind of just amalgamated accordingly.
I think so. You know what I mean? Like we claim them as soon as like they get us to a certain status. We're like, you belong to us now.
Tom Hutchinson loves us so much. I decided to like Canadian this up a little bit. Here's a hockey stick.
Oh my gosh.
There's a hockey stick there. There's also to get extra Canadian. Here's a 50th anniversary collector's Tim Hortons cup.
They make such a thing?
Well, that was 10 years ago. They're in 60 now. So there's your Canadian of the day.
There's our Canadian dose of the day, everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
Ray keeps saying, wait, come back. Ray keeps sending me pictures of snow, which I think are disgusting, of course. I you know me, I'm not one. I don't like the snow. I grew up with the snow, moved to a place where it doesn't snow. I'm so much happier. So please keep the snow to yourself.
I love the snow. I'll take it all.
Good. Hopefully it all goes your way because I don't want
it. It's amazing. The last 2 days, Winnipeg is usually pretty snowy in the wintertime, but we've been lax. And the last 2 days, it's definitely made up for lost time. I would say about 4 inches worth of snow.
Okay.
Like traffic is nice and slow. And
yeah.
And to add to the Christmas spirit, I'm adding to my hot chocolate a candy cane as discussed. So there you go.
Gross.
What was that?
I said, at least it's not maple syrup.
Yes, not this time. Anybody who has not seen me on the Karen show should go and check
Karen
it
show.
I believe it was episode 3 I was on.
Number
2.
Oh yeah. No,
number 3. There's
3.
Chris Brown Pants.
It was Chris,
and then George
Brown Pants, and then George Metaforman, and then you.
And then
oh my gosh. Yeah, me too, Lou. I love when it's snowing elsewhere.
Well, I can be elsewhere. Well, that's what I'm going to call my official base of operations.
We will wish it to you because Lou and I are in Texas and we don't want it.
They don't call it Winterpeg for nothing.
Gross. But I think 4 inches is okay. It's like 6 inches, 12 inches. It's like, okay, now it's it's a problem?
Well, it depends. I mean, if it's very gradual over the winter season, the roads are
Yeah.
completely safe, and then it just has all these atrocious piles all over
Yes.
everybody's lawns and stuff. But
And I think it makes a difference whether, uh, things thaw a little bit, because then things start to melt and then refreeze. And you have this random layer of ice in the middle, and it's
it's
terrible.
delicious snow
No.
sandwich.
You can't. You're like, the roads are clear, and they're not.
They are definitely not. Or black ice. That's the real scary
Yeah.
stuff.
See, I understand these things. I remember Ray was like, "Have you ever seen those?" You're from Texas. He's like, "Have you seen those mittens where the things pull back?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, and your fingers, yeah, you can use your fingers." He was like, "You know of those things?" And I was like, we don't have them here, but yes, I grew up in Michigan, so I
Touche.
know about those."
I
England had
absolutely
more than its fair share of snow when you grew up there. Really? Ugh.
I absolutely love the snow. I burn hot. Like there's nothing more torturous to me than running out of layers to remove and you're still just baking. If you don't have air conditioning or a pool or something, it's just torture. But you can always add on another layer if you want, kind of thing. But that's
I
just
don't
me.
know. I would rather not.
I
hate
can't get
being
much
cold.
paler. I think I'd burn in the sun, you know.
You would get destroyed here.
Oh yeah, it'd be just straight up like Count Orlok into dust kind of
You would
stuff.
just be a glowing white hot ember.
Usually the first like couple of days of like really good summer weather, as soon as the sun hits the horizon and starts going down, there's like a window of time where I actually glow because I'm so pale.
Oh my gosh.
It's entertaining.
Have you seen that picture of someone's like, there's two girls in the picture, but you can only see one because one is the same color as the sand. And you're like, there's two. She's so white. She's so white. They're like, do you see my girlfriend? Not that one, the other one. And you're like, oh my God.
When I was
great.
14, I went with my family to Jamaica and right by Ocho Rios. And the sand, I was the same color as. So in all of the photos, all you can see are my eyes and my hair, but the rest of me just blends in with the sand.
Okay, so you were meant for your environment. Yes.
Yeah, I just need like a beard or something to make myself look more authentic.
Beard.
Maybe like a mild Russian accent.
No, don't do that.
Not in today's climate.
Not in today's climate. It's probably a bad idea.
Well, Ukrainian accent then.
I don't know. People can tell the difference.
But they'll feel really bad if they judge me and then find out it's Ukrainian accent, and they'll just be, "Oh, I take it back." I'm just a silly guy. But yeah,
So Ray has been on the show, so we already got his origin story. However, why don't you recap for us kind of, your journey into comics, just in case there's anybody watching that has not seen you before.
Well, first, here's a semi recap. The last time I was on here, I believe it was Death Day or your birthday. I think it was. We both had party hats on.
Was it my birthday? Yeah, it was.
I think so. Today is my late father's birthday, so I was considering putting on a birthday cap, but anyways, I grew up in Canada. Surprise. Southern Ontario, near Hamilton, not too far from Toronto. And I grew up with an older brother that just loved cartoons, loved Hi Grey Wolf, loved comics, action figures, and I was just born into that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Being the second sibling, usually for the first handful of years of your life, you usually just try to copy an older sibling, which is more or less what I did.
Yes.
I grew up watching a lot of good classics, but not specifically comic heroes. Obviously, there's things like I loved The Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, or 1960s Spider-Man. I watched a lot of those as reruns. But there was also the other wave of really cool action figure cartoon influence, Transformers, G.I. Joe, some more that were unsung like Silverhawks, and one I really liked was Brave Star, which I thought was really, really awesome back in the day. Real Ghostbusters is another good one.
Oh yeah, I watched that one.
I was very fortunate to being born in the mid 80s, getting into the 90s. There was a resurgence, and Marvel Comics in particular needed to do something to get more youth involved in their product. And they brought in the Spider-Man, the animated series, but not just like DC as well. Obviously, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and Batman, the animated series. X-Men, which just became X-Men 97 recently. And there's a long list. I would do it a disservice if I tried to hammer them all down. I very much loved fantasy, especially leaving my adolescence. 2001 in December, that was my last year of high school. That's when The Fellowship of the Ring came out to theater, and that had a very big impression on me. My friends really liked that. I got to see it with two friends. It was just a really good experience. I always see this meme of cure everybody of cancer or enjoy insert name here for the first time again. And then it shows Keanu Reeves crying, "I'm sorry." But eventually I had to move 2 provinces away from where I lived. I left family and friends and everything. And eventually I would look for excuses to hang out with my friends on webcam. We eventually got into tabletop RPGing.
Tabletop
gaming.
RPG. As Karen would say, one
Nerd
of the
stuff.
lowest
The
form of
incels,
nerddom.
the lowest of the low. That's right.
Hey,
But
Levi. Good morning.
hello.
Hey, we're back on Twitch. Check it
Hello.
out.
And we had a really good time. I was the dungeon master. I made up a lot of custom lore. And in things like D&D, a lot of individuals will work off of modules, their preset stories. And I decided to be a little bit more ambitious. And I know I've said this in other places, but I bit off a lot. I chewed it all up. It took a while, but I was able to pull it off. Hard learning curves, but over the course of 10 plus years, a lot of lore was put into that imaginary world through the help of my friends and myself. And eventually I was inclined to express these stories in a different format, which ended up being comic books. So I've loved comic books. One of my favorite arcs that I grew up while it was current was House of M. I love the original Secret Wars, which I have on trade paperback. That story arc is as old as myself.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to collect it issue by issue because I was barely sentient at the time. There was one of the interesting things from my own experience watching comic books as they've ebbed and flowed through the decades. It's very interesting to see when story was important, when art was important, when there was a good balance, when there was different quirks and different, I don't want to say quirks, just new novelties that people took heavy interest.
I would say it's that's common with art, just like music. It's like
Yes.
things evolve, and then there's like a new hot topic. There's a new genre that evolves.
Yes.
Mumble rap. I'll just say that that's a thing, right? Or I mean, like if you go back to art and look at art history, how there's like Dadaism and Romanticism and Baroque, and those are all different things. It's like everybody expresses themselves in that manner. Comics are no different. I don't know if we name our genres, but
we don't name them. The later genres go back and name them.
Yes.
Most people don't understand when a genre is ended until you look back. You can't be in the middle of it and be like, okay, that ends that era.
Right.
Most
it's
people
just
are
what's
still
popular, what people want to spend their commission dollars on.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, there's residual effects that don't give a finite cutoff time of an era.
I wonder if the church is still influencing art. Let's find out. What do you think?
The church, is it?
Well, yeah, like when art was in the
Go ahead.
Renaissance era, it was like the biggest
I get it.
patron was the church, right? Because they were hiring artists to do insides of churches and frescoes and murals and triptychs and blah 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 blah.
Right.
So they've always been influencing art. I wonder if they still do. Just curious.
I don't know if it's
Hey, Jay.
inference.
Good morning.
Hi Jay. I'll show off his art. in a little bit. I know I've already posted it online. Abstract modernism, postmodern. Yeah, definitely.
I just spilled coffee all over myself.
I was putting more candy canes in
Morning.
my hot chocolate. That's what I was doing.
I just like to shower in coffee. It's good. It's good for your hair.
I think the
This is
opposite applies
interesting
to.
too.
I love the way D&D has found a new generation of players. I agree. I drew my nephew campaign character for him
Oh,
last year.
cool.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, it's very interesting when you see individuals that, if you give creative constraints, usually people have permission to use their imagination.
Oh no.
No, well,
No, I said no to this because Pops is always like, we need another game stream, and it's just. Yeah,
well,
I know.
3 kids. I'm not.
Shoulder
90s
pads and
was the
pouches.
age of shoulder pads and pouches. Yes, it was. Rob
I'm-
Liefeld.
I'm really glad that genre's over, right?
Time and a place. I think the one thing that defines an era is when something is definitely overused or used as, say, the magic wand to a solution, and you can actually apply it to different ages. So the ice age, quote unquote, everything was ice. The iron age, people figured out how to harness iron, or the bronze age, a very similar reasoning. But people in that era weren't thinking that was an era. Like, I'm sure there's probably
Shoulder pads and pouch era.
Yeah, shoulder pads
The
and pouch
fanny
era.
pack era.
Yeah.
Everything makes a comeback, which is scary though. With
Yeah,
fashion,
the one
when
thing
we're
that
talking
pisses me
fashion.
off right now is mullets and mustaches. Like, I
Oh,
wish
they're
that would just
coming
be dead.
back.
Up here in Canada, people are embracing that with like
Mullet.
no shame. No shame. Need to come back. Knee
Knee
pads
pads
and
and
pouches. Knee
pouches.
pads.
No.
Yeah. Knee pads.
No.
But
Oh.
no, I'm a big fan in the belief that we can't decide what the era is. That's the other thing. Like,
Yeah.
you think
Well, somebody decides.
one time somebody decides after, but you can't decide during.
Oh, well, you're in it, what they call it.
Yeah, like one time I made a joke a couple years back.
Levi, just don't bring it back. That's all we ask.
Big James will put the maul in mullet.
No. Big James does not have a mullet. No.
Nobody will maul somebody who has one.
Oh,
That has to be your next comic. Have a guy with a mullet just to get killed by James.
I am thinking about bringing back immortality. We took it away for a couple issues, but I think he needs to come back. That's like guarantee that we'll squish you.
We'll set him on fire, put the lit in mullet. I apologize for the bad jokes. As you could tell, I'm a dad.
He's a dad. We need them beautiful, sexy, hot babes to come back.
Yeah, that was a 90s era thing as well.
Oh, you mean okay.
Like
I get
Brian
you.
Polito still has
PvP.
it going, right? Like Lady Death, Vampirella, Witchblade, that era of just
There's still that in comics.
it wasn't that it isn't anymore, just at that time it was just revolutionary. The way the female body was just objectified, sure, but just more, it was more celebrated, and there was no shame in showing shameless stuff, I guess is the better way to put
There's shame now.
it. It started then, I guess is the best way to put it.
I don't know. Yeah. It was the thing. It started the thing.
Yeah. It
Bad girl
kickstarted that.
comic babes. You could draw Karen.
Karen needs a mullet.
I really
Oh.
think that the longer the Karen show is running, that people will have Karen inspired comics. I think it's coming. Karen needs a mullet. That would be terrifying. Can you imagine a Karen with a mullet?
Karen with a mullet.
Tons of broken backs.
Oh yes, with all the females trying to like stick their chest out and
Yeah,
at the same time.
and it's like, oh my gosh.
And all the room for their organs fit in like this cup as their upper body was bent over and
It's
their
like you
backside is bent out.
You have to you're facing the wall, right? But then you have to turn your body around and stick your chest out while also sticking your butt. It's like you're the shape of a U, but also twisted.
Yeah,
It doesn't work.
It's like when you watch a ventriloquist fold up the dummy and put in the bag
Yeah.
after. there, I'm pretty
Yeah,
now, right?
beautiful. Like, how can you see the front and the back side of a person at the same time and they're smiling? It doesn't work.
3 things that don't go: front, back, and smile. Doesn't work.
Probably not.
Probably 2,
not.
but not 3.
They might get front and back, but no smile. They might be dead. They just might be deceased. I don't know. So, but it's funny. I love hearing people's origin story and like the things that they were reading as kids and kind of influence them, because a lot of times I can see that in their work. And I got a copy of the Madcaps right here.
Yay!
I unboxed this morning, everybody, because I knew Ray was coming on, and I just want to take a couple minutes to show it off.
One of my biggest stressors in life is when you pull the comic out of the sleeve and you're just waiting for that tape to grab onto the cover.
Yeah.
I think everybody thinks of that, but for me, I'm just like, oh my goodness, don't happen. Yeah.
These are stickers?
They are.
These are
It's
super
the
nice.
cover
They're
art.
nice vinyl stickers, everybody. I hate the green screen, but I'm not taking it down because I'm in my kids' room. So I'm just gonna but they're each one is a cover.
Yep, that's the cover art. All 5
gorgeous.
covers. So
And
you
they're
have
vinyl.
the one of, yes, I
These
believe
are not
so.
paper. These are nice. I
So
remember
this here is the main issue.
I
That
got
one there.
this one. Which one?
So you've got the Sarlacc. That's drawn by Harvey Salteras.
There we go.
He is the individual who drew volume 2 of Ghost Rider for the first year. He's done a bunch of others, but that's the one that had the most impact on my life.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, you got black paper.
this is the main cover here. Oh, my apologies. You go ahead there. You're looking through. I'm getting all okay.
That's okay. Show it off.
Here's the main cover.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jimbo Salgado, and then we have Erica Hollis. This is of Chasgo. I'm a fan of having variant covers, but only if it's relevant to the story. Since these are all 5 or 4 new characters. That's my screen reflecting. Let's try this again. There we go. There's Madrakis. Hand painted by John Zalesnik, who he painted the original cartridge cover of Shinobi for the NES way back in the day. He's done a lot of metal covers, Warhammer, Magic the Gathering, and various other things.
I know. I have other things that I saved to open for the Tuesday morning brew special Christmas Eve. But I knew Ray was coming on, so I wanted to open it just so I could see it and we can kind of show it off while he was on the show. That seldom happens that I get a delivery like the day before the person comes on the show. So I had to do it. But I was marveling at the interior that you chose, black pages. I love that look.
One thing I tried really hard, just looking at our messages here.
Yep, okay. You're good.
One thing,
you were totally derailed.
No,
one thing.
Derailment. I'm just making sure the wording's right. One thing that I find is very, very important if you're going to express something, there's the difference between having similarities in uniform, and then there's the thing you want to avoid, which is a cookie cutter. It's just like this, but with a clock in it, kind of thing. And if you could do anything even remotely different, but not shake the norms, or shake the norms, but not break them. So people want a specific comic book format, but the black borders, like you said, I think it looks a lot more crisp with my story. The binding, this was actually done by accident, but we're really happy. There's no staples. It's done on a square spine.
Yeah. I didn't know they could do it this thin.
Surprise, surprise. But with that said,
did you know you were doing that?
That was actually an accident, and it was up to discussion to send it back and have them reprinted. And I thought, you know what? It's different enough. I think it'll be appreciated.
I don't think there's a problem with it.
It costs more, but
the
quote unquote problem is we didn't ask for that, so it was up for debate. Do we send back? But I kind of like it better, to be honest. I think I'm going to keep doing that, at least for these 3 issues, because it's a mini series.
Well, now you kind of have to because you want them to be a set.
That too, of course.
So it happens. Oh goodness. So
But
actually,
the only other thing I was just going to show that last one. There's Jenna
yeah.
Stark's painterly image of there we go. No, there we go.
There you go.
But
Eh?
they turned out great. I'm super happy. I'm super happy with the look.
I love this. This is super cool. Where
So
they have
you
the
saw
little-
how Jay Sloan, who commented earlier, he drew all of that concept art there that you have open.
Oh, he did. It's
Yes.
super nice. Very nice, Jay. Bravo, sir. But yeah, there's little black and white biopics of all the characters, and it tells you like their stats. So again, D&D, we're tapping in D&D. I mean, like Ray's story is very much built in the D&D world. And
It
feel
has
like,
that flavor for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's its own thing. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about comics is it can be D&D, but its own thing at the same time. So there was a question in here. Levi asked, "Hey Ray, what size did Jimbo do the art at? He does a lot of huge pieces."
He did it about this big.
11 by 17 is what I'm
No,
guessing.
bigger.
Bigger than 11
The
by
next
17?
size up. I think it's 17 by 22.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's just enough kill. Or somewhere in between, maybe. I've got it in the back. I should go and grab it, I think. But with that said, because issue 1 is out, like people have read it digitally and stuff, it's open game to talk about. I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to ask. It's definitely open game.
Yay.
The last time I was on, I had a curveball thrown at me, my own fault, but the inside cover just had a passage there and you were asking about it.
Yeah.
I was unprepared to describe why it was in there. And I can actually explain it a little bit better. Basically what happens is the little guy of the group, Dunn and Eni, he's 2 different bloodlines. He's got a dwarven dad and a gnomish mother. And it's just some interesting byproducts from that. Lots of good and some challenges as well. One of them being he has a hard time. He draws from both bloodlines, but he has a very hard time fitting in with either culture. He has just as easy as a time strengthening a bond with a friend as he would with a family member. Because of that, he treats friends just like family. But in that passage there, he's talking to his dad, and it's talking about the lead into what's about to happen in the comic. And he's saying, I would do this for my friends. Like they've done just as much for me as any family member. I'd do it for them, even if their names were Brad, Daryl, and Scott. And the reason I said that, because you were saying, well, who's Brad, Daryl, and Scott? What's being said in that, the background information, Dunnan's father, a dwarf, he's very proud. A very proud dwarf. He's not... he's interested in dwarvish things. He lives with dwarves. He's not a big fan of venturing outside of dwarven culture. And Dunnan saying this to his dad, he's saying, I would be doing this for them even if they were humans. Which was basically, it was just to give some insight on the drive to why this guy is so interested in getting his friends involved in this job he ends up talking about through this comic, but you have no idea what the job is.
Hey, we have some people hanging out in the back. Did you want to show off some cool art and we could bring in our friends?
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Go to. Okay, so what I'm going to show is the main cover for issue 2. It is drawn by Kenny Calderon, who is about to come on, and also Dan Kemp. Bam, there he is there. Hey, Kenny.
There they are. Amazing.
Bam. Hey, Dan,
guys.
good to see you guys.
Welcome to the Tuesday morning.
Right on.
Brew.
I'm
Happy to
gonna
have
gonna put this cover on.
Early.
It's early.
All right, what time zone are you in, Dan?
Oh, Rocky Zone.
Oh,
So it's
you're in
9:36. But yeah, I just found out like 5 minutes beforehand. So I was like, oh hell.
I blame Ray for
classic.
that.
Sorry. Yeah, it's his fault.
It's
No,
almost all.
I
There
was
you go
like,
there.
oh my God, is this occurring? Okay, we'll do this.
So
Well,
first and foremost, this is the first time I've
ooh.
seen these guys face to face since I've seen this product. So I want to give a very big thank you for your services. I'm really happy with how this turned out. You guys both knocked this out of the park. This is the first. Can I
Wow.
make this any bigger? Hold on. It is okay. We're good. I can zoom in a bit, but
Yeah. Because it's cool
um,
to see like the whole thing, and then we can zoom in and see some of like the
for
details, but it's
sure. But
gorgeous.
this depiction is supposed to be all four of them about to enter. I don't want to call it a desolate place, but you can see all the overgrowth. There's not a lot of traffic through there,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to just be a statement of things are about to transpire. I don't want to be like poops going down or anything like that, but it's supposed to have some type of level of not sincerity and like low level of being tense, but it is a very sober moment. And Kenny, I think you definitely portrayed that here in spades, and Dan, you definitely amplified that accordingly. Again, much
Zoom in.
appreciated for
Hey,
your work.
yep.
Zoom in, zoom in. I want to
Who should we
see
zoom in here? Do
all
the guy
of
in the
we'll
front.
just zoom into the yeah.
So here's Dunnan, little tiny half dwarf, as he calls himself. You can see his telescope up back. Here we have Sarlacc here. I'll zoom in a bit. You can see his axe hoisted over his shoulder here, which is kind of cool. I liked how that was put together. And then we have, here's Chasgo, the blue-skinned elf. A little bit of
Magic.
magic, arcana-esque, residual arcana, we'll call it. And then we have Badracus in the back.
Nice.
I love all the details, all of the
Can I see the moon?
yes, you may. There you go. And
Hmm.
just great teamwork between the two guys, between the depiction, the anatomy, the detailing, and then the light, which again just amplifies everything coming together here. But even the details between the two of them, like as silly as it sounds, I could look at this and just look at all the lines that make the leaves and the twigs and all of the foliage.
Kenny, have you done a cover for Ray before?
No, this is my
This
first
is your
one.
first time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely did a great job.
How did that conversation go when he was like, I got these weird characters, but they're all in a group and this is what I'm trying to convey. Like, how did that go down?
Actually, I'm familiar with Ray, having been on Phil Russert's pod, right? And
Yeah.
it was coincidentally promoting the first issue of Madcaps, and that's how I got familiar with Ray. And when he was ready to do the cover for issue 2, he remembered me, right? And
Nice.
which thanks. And when it comes to doing cover work for anyone, I like having a little bit of insight. How's it going, Jay? Thank you. I like to get a little bit of insight with regards to the IP, so that whatever I do is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's genuine to the vision, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be authentic.
Right.
So, which is another reason why I don't say yes to everything, right? Because if it's not something that I'm genuinely interested in, like, it'll affect the end product, So it just so happens that I am a nerd about, high fantasy and D&D and all that, so I was able to dive right in. And, really, when it came right down to it, it was aesthetics. What did Ray envision for the cover? What was the message he wanted to deliver with that? And all of that, went into the composition. So just with small details and, the character concepts that he provided, I was able to depict this, like I imagined this lone road away from civilization and going into this dark forest, right? So I figured that it would be a good idea to sort of like frame the group with the foliage, right? And kind of deliver that like desolate road that not many have traveled, with the ruined carriage on the side of the road, and maybe like some poles from like a battle on the other side of the grass, you know what I mean, just to kind of deliver those subtle messages to the audience.
It gives the feeling of solitude, the area being not very populated, which I definitely appreciate.
I feel like, isn't this just basically where we left off?
Yes.
Like it's the end of issue 1, and
this issue picks up right away. This image is about halfway through the comic.
Oh, really?
Yes. So there's at the end of the first issue, they're about to, I'll just use the blunt words, they're about to interrogate a couple of traffickers of this fictional drug weave. From there, they're going to get some information, and it's going to lead them to an area where they're just going to investigate and see what's going on before they go and speak to guards. Like, is the guy telling us the truth? We don't want to go to guards, peddle some nonsense, and then get in trouble for peddling nonsense.
Yeah. I'm really digging the composition, how, like you said, with the foliage, it kind of frames them, but also the lines from their capes kind of give you almost like this elliptical, almost like an eyeball shape. You know what I mean? With them standing in the center. And with the, what's his name? Madraxis in the back?
Madraxis at the back, yeah.
Yeah, his cape really, because it's so bright, and this, of course, is Dan's contribution, this brings the eye kind of back through the piece. So with diagonals and like down, it really makes your eye travel and want to look at all the detail, which is really good, really nice. And the moon, is that a moon? That is no moon. What is up with the moon?
Death Star.
Is it the Death Star? No, just kidding.
Yep. The Death Star is involved. I'm going to be taking Star Wars to court. Hopefully I win. Let's see how that goes.
Or like Disney's
not
going
yet
to
fully operational.
It's only just started.
We're going to call it the Dying Star. That way we can't get sued.
It's something.
Excellent. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's meaning in those shapes, or is it just Kenny was like, "This looks cool."
Nah, it was just me freestyling with the brush. So Ray wanted me to illustrate this cover traditionally. I can work digitally, but like I prefer traditional work. So all of this was like, I have the OG cover right here.
There it is.
Wow, look at that. Hold on.
Great.
So all of that is So all of that is brushwork.
Gotcha.
And a quill for like the fine lines.
Yeah.
And a bit of white ink to kind of break up some negative space.
Very cool.
So it's,
hey, John Westhoff, good timing. You showed up
right to depict the a nice flow of energy, right? Like that randomness that we get in foliage, but I wanted it to feel dense to where we can get some light peering through, and Dan like really blew it out of the water, with the way he colored it.
I like the combo of your skills. You can see almost one of the things, and Dan, you'll be able to say it better than I will, technically speaking, but I like how light distorts image. And when you have a direct light source, here is a great example. And then, of course, up top with the moon, how it actually blurs the image of the foliage that it's trying to peek past. I just really love that effect. The combo you guys did a really good job with.
Did you give Dan? Did he give you the color palette? Like, you're using the colors that were already set?
No, he just said go for it. And
Yeah.
I took the old Marvel thing, which is just like establish the colors character or the character colors. Here's the thing, like Ray and I had talked about it, and I said, well, I'll put him in shadow. I'll put him in shadow. And then I was like, fuck. Or pardon me, I was like, I can't
You can swear on the show, that's okay.
Okay, yeah. And I was just like, So that's as basic as it got. So I was just, as I told Ray, it's like I was thinking of Wizard of Oz with the piece. And
Ooh.
so it's like it's just, I just want to make the thing bright. And you can kind of tell that there's a spotlight in the center of of Madrakis, and then uh, what, yeah, and then the bottom character, and I don't know. It's just, yeah. So I just wanted to call because I hadn't really established the character colors perfectly yet, which is really sad, even though I did the whole first book. And so with this one, I was like, okay, I got to let me let me make it so it's obvious who's who, and
Yeah.
with them standing. Plus, I unless they were really close to the foliage, I wasn't going to do it dark. That was the thing. And so it's like, so it's still, I don't know, it's still, it's kind of that concept I fight with, like, how cool can you do it, or can you make it for kids? And if you can make it for kids, then you're making it for adults also. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I wrestled with at the last second. And I was just like, when did I do this? I did this yesterday, Ray. So this is very fresh,
Yeah, this
seeing
came
this
out
damn
just
thing.
yesterday. First time I saw it.
And
So
so,
cool.
yeah, and then I did a small animation for you on it too. So, good
Ooh.
God. So you guys, yeah, you'll see each frame. Ray's gonna put it together. So, um, but each thing I do bit per bit, and I actually had the. It was interesting because if you zoom in, you'll see the grass in the back, and then you'll see the greens used by the main characters are totally different,
Yeah.
but they were
Yeah. And
totally the same to begin with. And so that grass has like a blue to it, and then the guys have I mean, it's ethereal, I just get in when it's the right time to do it, and I take a look at what he gives me and all the shapes, and then I just kind of go in there and kind of go, okay, let me make it so it's a bit three-dimensional
yeah.
versus two-dimensional. And so, and I do that in a couple ways. Like, you can see that there's pardon me, a background, and there's going to be there's the green grass and stuff like that. That's the secondary background. Then the characters are going to be in a different light, which is going to be the foreground. And so it's like, so independently, they already separate. And then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm pulling in it, making everything look circular to a certain extent. And so
Mm.
it's like, so I'm looking for, so it's three-dimension upon third dimension upon third dimension type of thing. I've been doing this too long, so I apologize. But that's what, and sometimes if I just pulled them into a shadow condition, then it wouldn't have worked in terms of pulling the three dimensions so obviously forward. So it's a twofold cover. It's one, it doesn't make sense, but it does. And so the first thing that you're going to see is the characters. The second thing that you're going to see is the foliage. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, so I kind of that I don't know. It's when you're into graphic design, as long as I have that, you kind of go, okay, well, what are they going to be able to, what's the audience going to be able to view from this far away, and what are, and and so
Yeah.
you try and, okay, well, the foliage, it's there, but it's like it's not the most prominent attribute. The most prominent attribute is the guy with the red cape, and so then
Right.
the rest of the piece flows around him, and no
Yes.
matter what, you can't escape those things. And so that is, so instead of putting him into shadow like I told Ray I was going to do, I was like, oh hell, this whole thing, like, I need to establish the characters literally like a Disney thing. And so that's what it is. And so then I use the most vibrant colors
Yeah.
that you can come up with in like a sophisticated fashion.
And that's
So
kind of what I was going to
which
say about it is just there's so many colors. And I've
mhm,
tried coloring things digitally, and it's a challenge when you have a lot of similar colors next to each other to still make things pop and to make them,
yeah.
like you said, to not blend together. Like the background green versus the dwarf's green are different, And so I'm
Yeah,
just looking
and
at all this color.
Yeah, it's like, and I'll use like 3 to 4 colors in an area, and
Right.
and I choose each thing to blend. So it's like, so each object has like 3 to 4 colors in it. It's a really intense amount of work. Like,
Wow.
and I don't use dodge for the most part, and I don't use screen or any of like the tricks that you can pull off. It's actually like I sit there and I go, okay, what's the next logical color that goes on top of this color, and what's the next logical color that can go on top of this? And so it's like, but you'll see on the red cape on the highlights, if you zoom in, if you can, um,
Hold on one
Ray,
sec. I'm just trying to
come
Ray.
get
on,
people to
man.
join here. I'm here. I'm here. It's all good, man.
Yeah, so zoom in on the
Zoom in on
cape,
the red cape.
on the.
My apologies.
Mhm.
I was trying to get more people to join the podcast.
Oh,
I was promoting. I was
Yeah, you could
promoting.
do that. Yeah, and so you'll see like the highlights at the very end of that. Those are actually like you have to use like a dodge tool to get that type of effect. And so the
oh,
interesting thing is you see the different gold between the axe and the actual
yeah.
so those are two different golds to actually separate them. And they're also in two different value senses. So it's
See?
like, so one's lighter and one's darker than the other. And especially it's a trick also, if you'll see how I pulled the highlight to the center of Madrakis's chest, and
Yeah.
so it pulls it away from the axe just a little bit. So those are like little things, like knowing it's going to be gold, and knowing that the guy's going to have, green. The green values are different and stuff like that. So it's all God, there's so much to it, to be honest with you. It's
Yeah.
intense. And so yeah, and then anytime that you see like a sharp cut or something like that, like a shape in the thing, that's how you can, because everything in this world's blended, and so you can just blend everything. Anytime that
Mm.
you add the highlight shapes on things like the gun, the or anything weird, that's when you're starting to add a signature effect
Interesting. Okay.
to it. So so that's kind of my phone is going. I think I only have like 5 minutes with you guys. I
No pressure.
apologize.
Okay.
Just
That's
happy
okay.
we're here for this amount
See,
of time. Thank
yeah,
you.
You guys are not required to stay for the whole show,
yeah.
just
So
Ray.
well, I think I get like 5 minutes at most right now because Ray, I had to charge my phone. I was just running around going, "This is
Very
a
good to
joke.
me,
This is
Dan.
not
I
happening."
appreciate it.
I know. I said, and that was the thing. I said I should just write to him right now and go, "This is not going to happen." So, but it's all good. You
Hey,
guys
you
got
showed
me
up.
in
Hey,
here.
that
You know,
counts. Gold star for the day.
yeah. I was like, oh, to hell with Ray. I'm gonna show up anyways. Let's do this show. So yeah.
Should have been like
So
shirtless
and
and
I
like some
explained,
type of smoke out of your
yeah.
mouth.
Oh man, that's what I need to be doing. So I swear to God. But that's exactly what I feel like. Like Smog the Dragon, just going, man. I swear to God. You're gonna wake
Don't
me
touch
up
my
for
stuff.
this.
Get off my
Oh,
lawn.
you
Yeah.
son of a bitch. And yeah, I'm just no, but I'm so who knows? But my phone's going, so let me say goodbye to everybody, and
Thanks for the
nice meeting
content.
you guys and or
Yeah.
gals, and so I put more into the coloring that you should. If you take a look at the piece, it's it's like when I looked at the piece afterwards, I was like, I really did do the yellow brick road with Dorothy. And so if
Yeah,
you
you
look at
really
it,
did.
I kept, yeah. And so there is a yellow brick road there, and those are the brightest colors because Technicolor was used in the Wizard of Oz. And so that I was
Yeah.
just like, well, shit, we got, let's. So I do it. I do the brightest colors for kids, but then I do them in the most sophisticated way for adults. That's kind
I
of what I got
appreciate it.
away with
I
on
definitely
Ray's
appreciate
cover.
that
Yeah.
style and approach.
Gorgeous.
So and yeah, and so it should have been in shadow, but I always
I
think
like this
Disney
better.
first, and so yeah, you
If
know
I
what?
like
it makes
it.
a statement, then it's a pass. That's for sure.
Artists I work with say, like especially one he wrote to me and he said, I always expect something. I always know what the color or the colors should be for the cover. And he said, you always give me something different. and it's always really fucking cool. And I was like, well, thank you. You know, I think that's, you know, side-handed compliment type of thing. But
Yeah.
it's like, I think that, you know, because it's like the longer that you're going to stare at a piece is kind of our goal. And so it's like, you know, I think that you have to give them something that they're not expecting all the time. You know what I mean? And so at least I pulled that
Isn't
off.
that
And
that's
it,
like
you know,
that's like our job as indie creators. Give them something that they're not expecting all the time. It's kind of
yep.
exhausting.
And that, you know what, it's like that. It's hypnosis in that you lull the reader into thinking that you're doing something, but then you think up the next level or the next strategy of like layer to it. And so it's like, so yeah, that is. And you know what, when you're creative, the lifetime is always going to take twice from you. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
but is it worth it? You know, I mean, yeah. So, okay, I'll see you guys. You guys have fun, and talk to you soon.
Thanks
Thanks,
again,
And
Dan.
Dan.
Ray, I will get you for this, Ray. You son of a gun.
It's okay. I look
Uh,
forward to it because it's
He's in
always not what I
Canada. You got to
expect,
start
right?
driving now.
yeah, I'm walking. You know, I'm gonna use my walking stick. We're gonna do this.
Walk all the way
Okay,
to
see you
Winnipeg.
guys. Have
Okay.
fun.
Bye, Dan. Have
Oh,
a
Dan.
good
yeah,
day.
right.
If I
Bye,
ever
Kenny.
see him face to face, I'm going to give him a very big hug because that seems like a Canadian thing to do.
I was like, does he like you, hate you, frenemies? What's going on here?
It's funny when he mentioned giving somebody the opposite of what you expect. Your copy there that you have of issue 1, that's with Harvey Salterra's, he gave me the exact opposite of what I requested. And because it was so good, my instincts were just shut up and take my money.
Ah, that's
Like
funny.
without hesitation. Usually I'm not happy with outside of my suggestions, but it was just the guy got the character and he portrayed the character, and it was what I wanted, just expressed differently. So I was definitely happy.
It's always interesting. I mean, how much? Maybe this is a question for Kenny. How much information did Ray give you? Was it an overabundance of information, or did he say, here's my characters, figure it out? Somewhere in between.
Well, I read through issue 1, right? And I did look at the character bios, because Ray gave me like some surface level information, and then like if I needed more, I'd reach out to him.
Gotcha.
Right? Because again, it's about the authenticity. I'm trying to nail or at least get as close to his vision as possible. So with every project that I take on, I do tons of research. I do lots of homework, you know. So he wasn't, I think I barely spoke to Ray.
Really?
You know,
it wasn't
during the
I
process.
pictured it the other way. I
very
totally
brief.
pictured it where Ray was like, okay, this is how they're going to stand. This is what's going on. His cloak is flowing in the air and it's nighttime and he's setting up the whole vibe like a DM would. You know what I mean?
Not
When
at
they're
all.
setting up. And so he
Not
was
at
just
all.
like, I got characters. Can you draw them?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you know, the only thing that like close to finalizing the cover, like I that was brought up was making, you know, maybe some small changes, like changing, you know, a facial expression or, you know, small details that were nothing. But for the most part, you know, he was very pleased with how I composed it, the details that I threw in there. He dug it, you know. I'm fortunate to say that a lot of my clientele trust me.
Well, if you're doing the research,
yeah. But no, he wasn't overbearing at all.
One thing I'm always paranoid of being overbearing. So one thing I try to do is, we were saying earlier in the podcast, creative constraints.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the things I require, and then in my experience, if I step back from there and let the artist perform their flair with said constraints, usually it flies towards what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And this is just an example of that, like you said, Kenny, there was some minor tweaking, but like minor in the grand scheme of things. It was pretty good. I think I have a pretty, like, I'm an artist at heart. It was something I never really got to develop as I grew up, but I understood the dynamic of pencil, ink, and getting everything hammered down. But one thing I really wanted to do was to make sure that here's my expectations, but if I can find the person too much, I don't see the person's end result.
Yeah. I feel the same. I when I bring on variant artists, I usually will provide them with the issue, or at least explain, what's going on in the story and see what interests them. I have a few ideas of things that I want to do for variant covers, like Sad Pancake. But I need to find the right person that excites them to do it. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, like you said, the authenticity isn't there. The excitement, the passion doesn't come through.
Yes.
And then it's just a picture. Like
Right.
we want the feeling.
I'm sorry. No, I was going to say that as artists, we imprint on the work that we produce.
Yeah.
Right. So if I wasn't excited about doing this cover, it probably wouldn't have come out as good as it did, because, that imprinting process, we pour energy into what we create. Right.
You're putting that passion into it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
like that energy shines through in the end result. So it's why I don't say yes to everything. It's why I feel that I need to be excited about the project. And it's good that I'm into a lot of different genres, right?
Yeah.
So,
Are you into Western apocalypse? I'm just curious.
yeah. Yeah. Listen, I pretty, like, you see the books behind me, very, very diverse. All
Yeah,
right?
what's back there? Let's see. I can't
I
see
got a
it.
little bit of everything. I'm trying to move my big head.
That's like me and music.
East of
I
West,
have a,
baby. That's my favorite. That's it. I usually have it up here. I think I took it downstairs or someone nabbed it from me, but that's the one I keep up here all the time for that's one of my major influences as well. Heck yeah. So yes, Jay, we are now best friends. Did we just become best friends? That's amazing. So this is the main cover of issue 2.
Yes, this is the main cover. We have. Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
There
Surprise!
You go. This is on.
Yes.
What I really tried to do. I was mentioning earlier in this podcast. I only like variant covers if it's relevant to the story. So the first issue, there's 4 new characters, so I had 4 variant covers.
Yeah.
The very first, the main cover to issue 1 is kind of I just wanted to be a dynamic picture. It's not story related. Here's the characters. This is what I'm trying to get you to buy into. And for this one, I wanted to be a relevant image. I really miss the era of like 60s, 70s Marvel comics where the cover made you want to read the story. We were talking earlier about the ebb and flow of art versus story.
Yeah.
I remember one issue in Spider-Man where he lost his memory and Doc Ock convinced him to rob a bank with him. And on the cover, it shows Doc Ock and Spider-Man with fistfuls of cash bags busting out of a wall. Why is Spidey helping Ock rob a bank?
Right.
Well,
Read
I'm
the
in,
story.
So I'm not a big fan for what the style I'm looking for here. I don't want a lot of words on the page. Of course, there will be a title, but it shows them walking into this area. Okay, why are they walking in? Usually it would be something like explosions and insert thing here. Super dynamic. Yes. And this is actually a good segue because I'm going to show Jay's art here, even though I know I've showed it already, but this is a good time to show it off. But this one, there's something going on. And between, like I said before, between the anatomy and the texture, everything that you drew here, the grass, the foliage, it shows they're walking into something. And if I zoom in here, you can see even this guy's like, okay, well, let's see where this silliness happens. And then you have Sarlacc here, who is just kind of, I grudgingly accept doing this. And then you have, he's a hard read, which I do on purpose. He's kind of a hard
lizard.
introvert. And then Chazgo is just like, I've seen a lot of things and life goes on. But they're all walking into an area like, why are they going into this? That was the whole reason I wanted to have this this image portrayed accordingly. I'm going to stop sharing for a second.
Right. Have you seen, there was a movie, I forget which one it was that was released, and it was like, it was just a bunch of black negative space, but then when you changed I forget what it was, they changed something, and then there was an image. There was 2 layers of black there. And so it's almost like if they changed it wasn't the saturation, they changed something, but like an image came out of the black when you messed with the image. And I was like, you could
Interesting.
almost do something like that here, where there's
Yeah, that'd
something
be
waiting for
fascinating.
them in that grass.
Yeah, well, there's something going on in that grass.
Well, obviously
Can't-
it's like,
can't
it's
say
a
anything else,
when
but-
you print it, it's, you know, that is
Yeah.
what it is. But if
Yeah,
you
it's
had
really
that
cool.
built into the image, that's something that
Yeah.
you could maybe tease people. I love doing that kind of stuff with my covers,
Yes.
where it's like there's a meaning behind the things and then riddles behind that, and it's like, what's in that grass? I need to know.
I'll share
Ray's a big
quickly.
tease too. Half the time he's like, I got a new cover, and I'm like, can I
Okay.
see it? And he was like, oh yeah, no. And like 2 days later he'll send it, and I'm like, you jerk.
I do that once in a while.
It's like
Here we
every
are.
time.
So this is Jay Sloan's. This will be colored by Dave Kemp. It's going to be coloring that one.
my
The
God.
relevant of this image is Chazgo reveals he actually has a pet. In this case, it's a 3-eyed albino crow.
Albino
You can
crow.
see his third eye in there.
Creepy.
And I'm really excited to see how this one plays out. Jay is literally shipping me out. This was done traditionally, but he's
Wow.
literally sending this one out to me later today. And
You guys are so talented.
I just wanted Chazgo. He prefers solitude. He's a very guarded individual because he comes from a race of elves that is not really looked highly upon by others. Basically, they're tribalistic and what's the word? I guess technically could be considered xenophobic. They don't like outsiders, but everybody's scared of his type. So
That's why.
he uses magic to make himself look like a human. But here he is by himself, just milling in his thoughts. And his lovely pet there, its name is Emmix, is debuted in this issue. So I felt this variant cover was justified. But
It has to do with the story. What's the lore behind the 3-eyed crow? Because you have a 3-eyed crow. Corissa has a 3-eyed crow. What's a 3-eyed?
does she have a 3-eyed crow?
Maybe.
Well, I think she's got like a crow phoenix, I think it's called.
I'm not sure what it is, but
I'm gonna
isn't there
stop sharing.
some? I mean, like there's a 3-eyed crow in Game of Thrones. There's something behind that, isn't there? Isn't it some
Here,
kind
hold
of?
on one second. I'm going to stop
creature?
sharing.
You're gonna
If anybody wants
do it?
to look at this image, it's on my Facebook profile. I'll be uploading the main cover image and then in the not too distant future. The whole reason for this crow is it's a connection to the individual that gives him his abilities. So if you look
Oh.
on Chazgo's neck, around it, there's a necklace that is, it's
Like,
got a
let me go
rook
look.
on it.
Let me go to my encyclopedia. Hold, please. Around his
So, like,
neck,
a
there's a
familiar.
chess piece. It's a rook.
Yes. That's actually the conduit to how he has his magic abilities. And that bird actually comes from where his, in D&D, I guess technically you could call it a patron, but the entity that allows him to have these magical abilities, that bird is from where she is.
She.
Yes. It's actually the first word in the first comic. Her name is Annette. And Annette, Chazgo, basically, Chazgo's not a fan of his people or their culture. He finds them very dysfunctional. And because of that, he left. But where are you going to go where everybody's pretty much going to kill you on sight when you're this type of elk, or elf, rather, better known as Arger? So Annette figured she could give him some means of survival. if he left, and she's decided to make him her champion, and has coaxed him into trying to find a means of getting Argers to leave the mountains that they live in and try and like blend in with the rest of living species in the area.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people like the lore of Chazgo the most because there's a lot of, dare I say, unanswered questions about him. In fact, the first issue, it's narrated entirely by him writing a letter to Annette. The whole reason I did that is my first draft didn't have any narration, and many people felt that Chazgo was very sketchy, like to a level that I didn't want them to think.
That's interesting. They were like, he's the bad guy.
Yeah, he's not on the level, so I added the narration just to give him some more relatability too.
That's nice. Help your readers help themselves. I understand that too, because with my first issue, people were like, so you have zombies, and I was like, did you not read the first issue? Like, do you not understand how they work? And they're like, no. And I was like, all right, then I need to fix that, right? And hence the intro page became the journal pages, which explains more. So sometimes you have to help. It's always good to have beta readers too. You know what I mean? Like read through it, and if they're missing something, or they're consistently missing something, and then it's like, okay, I didn't fill in all the gaps.
One thing I definitely appreciate is the people I did show, even like getting to the end of just pre-print, just catching things like grammar and stuff. I mean, shout out to. Do
you not have an editor?
I can't afford an editor. It's just me, but I get other people to read. That's basically my editor. Gotcha. Even someone like, I don't know if Tom Hutchinson is still watching, but
he's not.
He
checked out an hour ago. He was on for the first 3 minutes. Yeah, he was like, go do your homework, children. I'll talk to you later. And then he left.
Yeah, my work here is done. Folds into the wind like a ninja. Gone.
Yeah, and let's see if he comments. I would be really surprised if he does, but maybe his ears are burning. I don't know. Anyway.
But I ran it by Tom. Tom, he caught a couple of things. I was very grateful. And I believe you were the first to read it once it was digital.
Was I?
I believe so, yes. I think.
You didn't ask me to proofread it, so I don't think I sent anything back to you.
I'm always open for critique. A lot of people are like,
are you? Some people aren't. So you mean
some people aren't. And
right,
my
Kenny?
thing is, I've heard this phrase before, and regardless of who said it, because some people may not be a fan of said person, but I really like the phrase of honest conflict is better than uncomfortable. Honest conflict is better than dishonest harmony. That's the word I'm looking for. Basically, if you have honest conflict, if you can either confront somebody about a problem and come to a resolution, or you can perpetually hate yourself as you tolerate the thing you don't like.
Good morning. I always just ask, where it's like I will read it and be like, would you like some critique? And if the answer is yes, then I will give them my honest opinion. And if the answer is no, I just wanted to share it with you, then all right, it's great. Yeah, you never know. You could accidentally tick people off just by being like, I really like this.
Some people
didn't make sense.
Some people, they're not ready to hear the bad news yet. They're not fully confident in their stuff.
Well,
my thing personally,
I also think that some people feel like they have to critique.
Yes, on the other side, that's true.
Kenny, I think this is more an art. Like if you post something online and someone's like, that's great, except for I think you should change all the shadows. And you're like, I didn't ask for critique. You know what I mean? I just wanted to share. You know what I mean? Some people are overly.
There are people that just can't help themselves, and that's just who they are. It's a personality trait.
Yes.
Right? So they'll just critique everything.
Yeah.
But creatively, like if you're a creator, if you're a writer, artist, photographer, whatever, right? And you're in the creative space, you can't turn away from critique. Those critiques help you grow.
Right.
In your craft.
Yes and no.
I've been critiqued before, and I don't, and I take it on the chin.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes it's like, I will ask, be like, hey, this isn't quite right. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. And then I open it up for discussion, like, what do you guys think? But I'll
Right.
ask certain people because they understand. Sorry, people are showing up. Hello, Glenn. How are you, sir? Nice to see you. But other times it's like, and this is spot on sometimes. So people just learn they just because it's shared doesn't mean they're looking for critique.
Right.
And it's like if it's a finished product, like you guys finished the cover and you post it and then someone critiques it, and it's just like, I'm not changing it just for this one
too
person.
late, buddy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, like we also understand that art is subjective, object, what's the one? Subjective, where people like different styles, people like different things. And you could express it in a lot of different ways. And that doesn't mean any which way is wrong. That's just how we prefer it. And so when people come on and they're like, this isn't this or this isn't that. And it's just like, at some point, I just want to make a cover.
That's what's called style.
Yes.
Style and preference, right?
Right.
Exactly.
One of the best examples to that I can think of off the top of my head, it isn't comic related, but the style and the look of the game Minecraft, it looks like it is 30 years too late. Everything looks square and pixelated. But if you actually sit down and play the game, which I don't get to do too often, it's a hell of a lot of fun. There's very many variables.
Too, yeah.
When you actually play the game, you're not seeing the imperfections. You're seeing it for what it is and appreciating the style for what it is, which is what the intention is supposed to be.
So that's a lot of times why I don't offer critique. A lot of times I want to make sure one, I'm friendly with that person. It helps, you know what I mean? So if it's our first interaction and I'm critiquing something, people can get ruffled. It happens. I've seen it. It's happened to me. You know what I mean?
Even if you're familiar, they can still
sometimes it can still happen.
Take it wrong. I remember I was at a convention, and I was in Artist Alley. I was a couple tables down from this other artist that I'm familiar with. Because the convention circuit is very small. Everybody knows everyone.
Yes.
And I was in the process of composing a figure, and he was showing off this new print that he was selling at that show for the first time.
Oh.
Now, as individuals,
must disclaim,
right? Like, here we go. Let's go. Spill the tea. I'm ready, Kenny. Let's go.
So, okay, because I also teach art. I'm a full-time artist, but I teach art part-time. So, I'm always hammering into my students, what not to do.
Oh no.
So it's like I'm because of that aspect of what I do, I can immediately see imperfections, and it's not something I can turn off.
Maybe just don't say it.
Understandable.
But then it aggravates me if I don't say something.
Oh. But so how do you politely, especially if it's okay, but you know them because it's the con scene. That's what we've established. So
right.
How do you address that?
So
you go into your car after and then just exhale it all at
punch
once.
Things.
This was wrong and this was wrong.
Punching the steering wheel,
what is going on with that man? No, but really, like, how do you address that?
But in this particular situation, I admit I didn't handle it the best way.
Uh-oh.
Right? And I was like, you got too many abs. Right? He had the way he drew his Spider-Man, it had 12 abs. You know what I'm saying?
24 pack.
Yeah, and I'm like, and the irony behind it is the artist that drew it works out.
Oh.
So it's like,
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? I found that to be really ironic, and are you doing it as a parody? You know what I'm saying? He's got way too many ab muscles.
Ab has its own individual 6-pack on it.
you know what I'm saying? So I offered some criticism. I was like, you might want to dial it back with the muscle tone, because when you're when your lines are too dark or too thick when you're too thick in your line weights, that sort of has a way of separating itself from the form, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it was like all the muscles look like bubbles, like he had the mumps, you know, aside from the number of muscles that he was defining, right? And he didn't take it well at all.
Well, did he already he had a bunch of prints already made of it?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's
yes, he did. And
He's
it was
like, I already
very
invested
common
money in this. I don't want to go change it.
Yeah, and it was a very common element in all of the artwork that I've
All
seen.
of his stuff. Ooh.
So and you know, and I say that to say that that's an example of not being able to take criticism well, right? Because that criticism helps like mold you into a better artist or a better writer or a better creative. You know what I mean? I've taken those criticisms and it's made me better, because you know, there are things that when you're too close to the art, right, you don't see a lot of those imperfections. That's why sometimes, like for example, with Ray's cover, I'll lay in a composition, I'll walk away for about an hour or two and then come back with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Right? To see if
Catch
there's
all
something that
those
I can
things.
adjust. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're too close, you don't see all the imperfections. So you want to come back to it where you can get a broad scope of everything. I'm like, okay, I can make these adjustments here and there, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that iron sharpens iron, right? So if there's something that I'm working on that's not that I'm not 100% on, I'll workshop it to some of my artist friends, you know, guys that are in the industry, you know, and I'll get their feedback. Because in the end, it makes me look better, you know.
I
then
honestly think though, when it's unsolicited, that the people's first reaction will always be to be defensive.
sure,
And it's just kind of human nature. And I think that's what we have to learn as creators is get upset in the short term and then listen and be like, is it something that's I could benefit from advice wise? Because sometimes it just hurts hearing like, you could do better, man. This isn't your best turnout. This isn't your greatest. And when you think it's really great and that you've come so far to produce that. So it's hard to look at it and objectively and be like, okay, no, they're right. And sometimes they're not right.
No, for sure. But in that vein,
this is all crap. And you're like, you can F off.
One thing I've learned personally, I teach at a college, and if there's a flaw,
you know what's funny is that Ray's superhero face, his superhero face is this writer and DM, and then his mild-mannered alter ego is a teacher that he never talks about. Yeah. Go ahead, you're a teacher, yes.
But anyways, if I've noticed if a student brings forth a flaw, I actually call it a strength, and then I tell them a way that they can make the strength better. And so in a case of like abs, for example, you brought up, I think you have something really good here. I think it's very clear you can do this even better if you studied up on anatomy or whatever the suggestion would be.
Manager sandwich.
Even better. No, not good, better, good. No, do the opposite. You actually embrace what they're doing as a strength and then improve it. As opposed to, that's great, this sucks, this is better. I'm not a fan of that, because everybody can read that pretty much. Everybody knows the manager sandwich tactic. But if you actually just say, this is really good, and it's obvious you've been doing well, I bet you can do this even better if study up on anatomy. Bodybuilders back in the day, back in the Arnold Schwarzenegger era.
Did your brain derail saying
yes
that?
I did. Yes, I lose IQ as soon as I say the name. But anyways,
I do that all the time, so that's why I understand what
Arnold
just happened. Your brain was just like,
Arnold Schwarzenegger. But anyways, he was very smart in the respect of bodybuilders do the routines. Well, there's a lot of variables going on there that don't have anything to do with muscles, and so he actually took instruction from a ballet instructor how to be more graceful. To add to that. So artists studying anatomy obviously is going to improve their drawing game for that reason.
Gosh, I took anatomy and I took life drawing in college. First it was scary. because there's an actual naked person in the room with you, and you're like, what the? I don't know where to sit. But it's so interesting to me how there's one subject and everybody kind of draws them differently. You know what I mean? Like, and I always find that people tend to draw humans, especially how they see themselves. So if you see yourself as tall and lanky, your people turn out tall and lanky. If you see yourself as short and squat, your humans turn out short and squat. Isn't that weird? Why is that?
Yeah. So I that's a self-reflection kind of thing. It's a part of the psychology of what we see in the mirror most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to anatomy, like I start all of my students with anatomy. I mean, granted, not in a room with naked people, you know. Let's be clear, right? but I have a young lady that's been one of my students since she was 10, coming off of the pandemic. She's 14 now and going into high school.
Mm-hmm.
And she is at least 5 years ahead of where she should be artistically, because I started her off with anatomy, hands, feet, facial expressions, right? And I feel like once you eliminate that mystique of how difficult drawing a human body is, you know, it shoots the confidence level right up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that
I think humans are hard.
You know, I'm self-taught.
William, you're just on fire right now, sir. People need to start teaching us how to meet deadlines. That's a different story. That's different.
I've seen some of his posts
it's
lately.
Time management.
Talking about family emergencies aren't a good enough excuse.
It depends on, you know, what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I think dealing with people is the biggest challenge of any business, right?
Sure.
Gosh, dealing with people. I feel you. So anyway, you were talking about once you get through getting people over the hurdle of drawing people, that confidence goes up. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I'm a self-taught artist, right? The grays in my beard will immediately identify me as someone who predates internet.
29.
17, right? 18, somewhere in there.
No, that would make you 5 years old, Ray.
So, you know,
I am. You've seen my interactions. You can tell I'm a 5-year-old.
Well, your humor
Ray's got a baby face. Look at him.
That's right.
You're talking about growing a beard. I don't know. That might change entirely how Ray looks.
I can actually light a match off of my 5 o'clock shadow. It's possible.
Not necessary.
Take that, cowboy.
There you go. So
shiny thing.
Because of the limitations, right? Like I experimented a lot and I did a lot of research. Like one of my biggest influences is Leonardo da Vinci, right?
Yes.
That Da Vinci is the godfather of everything that we know today in contemporary art.
Mm-hmm.
Changed my mind. You know what I'm saying? And because of my research on Da Vinci is how I was able to sort of like learn my own way of breaking down the human body, using lines of symmetry, being able to tell a story with gesture, color, and even line weight.
Yeah.
Right. Just so I'm able to sort of like condense all of that information into something that's easy to digest, you know, when I work with my kids. And even some adults. Like one of my oldest students is in her 50s, and I'm teaching her how to paint. So, you know, all of that information is something that, speaking of Da Vinci, he drew himself in all of his paintings, and that's good enough for me. There you go.
Right? Spicy in the chat today. Look at this. People need how to learn how to pay artists when the job is done. Yeah, that too. Yeah, it's spicy.
Boom. Man, this is nice. This is nice. I'm broadcasting this on my Facebook, my YouTube as well.
It's like, welcome to the show, Kenny.
You know?
No.
Shoot, what was I say? Oh, so
we keep seeing shiny things and we're like, ooh, what's that?
Yeah, because it's all about removing that mystique, right? Because honestly, 85% of this is repetition. It's muscle memory.
Yes. Well, that's everything, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
That's
15% of it is actual talent, right?
yes,
15% of it is actual talent. The rest of it, you just got to
hard
show up
work,
and put in the work.
dedication. Yeah. And I mean, that's what I learned from martial arts. And I started doing martial arts at 17, and it's like you need to learn that you can learn, and then how to apply yourself and repetition and time on task, all of that. And it's like, if you really want to improve, I think why is that so hard as a human being? It's like one of those things where it's like, I know I'll lose weight if I consistently walk on my treadmill, but I hate walking on my treadmill. But my brain knows what I need to do to
That
get
reminds
better.
me of a Mike Tyson quote: "Discipline is doing what you hate, but doing it like you like it."
Ah,
That's
but
what
how?
discipline
How
is.
do you convince your brain that it's so hard?
It's
You
the
know?
dopamine in place of what you need to do is the problem. So I can go and do this. Students with homework, I lay out the riot act right at the start, and I'll say it's going to be very easy to not have to do homework. And this entire school year is going to be a challenge to get stuff done. It's very easy to say to yourself, I have homework that's due tomorrow. What's he saying here? The main thing you need to
He's
learn and understand is
reiterating,
being
yes,
consistent.
it's just
Yeah.
time, being consistent, manage your time.
But I'll say to them, it's very easy to look at your homework and say, this is due tomorrow. I'm going to go level up on my game first, because you got away from that uncomfortability. So I say to them, embrace being uncomfortable. That's how I force myself to get on that metaphorical treadmill, because the end result is more important than feeling good right now. That's usually the distraction.
Yeah. And I think, hey, Dan, how are you, sir? Nice to see you. I think it's like you hit it on the head. It's being uncomfortable. It's either uncomfortable because I don't know how to do it, uncomfortable because I know it's gonna take time and effort, and I'm gonna mess up, or uncomfortable because I'm putting myself in a position to look dumb, or you know what I mean, like look unprofessional, because when I put this out there and I haven't spent that amount of time on it, it takes a while to learn it. So I'm going to look less, you know what I mean? It's like people turning out their first cover. Oh my God, I'm going to get judged. So all of that uncomfortableness, and it's just like, what is that? That's that, the quote from Dune: fear is the mind killer. I shall not fear. Fear is the mind killer. You know what I mean? It's like, once the fear has passed, only I will remain. It'll pass through me. I'm butchering it. Butchering that quote.
But you're hitting the point.
I'm hitting the points. The point is like, you're gonna be afraid. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but you go through the process, and then when you're through it, you'll still be there.
Yes.
And you'll learn from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, I'm so eloquent this morning. I don't know if I need more coffee or less.
Double down.
No.
Double down on a double.
There it is. High octane.
Be the biggest grinder you have the biggest grinder in the room in order to be seen. You have to eliminate distractions from your life and make this a priority. Yeah. There's something to be said about just being consistent and being dedicated. And it's so hard to stand out in a community sometimes, but it's like you have to do what needs to be done, right?
Jesse James of was it OCC, Orange County Chopper? There's a quote by him.
What are we talking about?
Well, he says, if you want to be successful, what you need to do is go to work. Do not look at your phone. Maybe take 5 minutes for lunch. Get back to work.
5 minutes.
Go home when you can't keep your eyes open anymore, and do that in repetition, and eventually you will find success. But I already used the example of video games. There are things that stop you from the better way to put it is, if this was the 1930s, people would just double down to survive, but they don't. There's more leisure, so you don't have to push to survive as much.
Yeah.
There you go, getting deep again. Ray's like quoting The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and I'm just like, huh? My brain isn't coping with that this morning. Sorry. Now this is interesting, Glenn. Now, when I was in college, I was an art student and a music minor as well. And not everybody can be an artist, just like not everybody can be ballerina, musician, etc. I found that this is an interesting concept because some people can fake it until they make it. Like you put in all the hours and dedication and you can teach yourself a skill. And then there's other people that are just naturally talented and we all want to punch them in the face. I say that from my music background because it didn't matter how many times I practiced, stuff, I was still like second chair. It didn't matter. I couldn't beat first chair. But it's not everybody can be an artist. I don't know. Do you think hard work can pay off? You can fake it until you make it? Guys, what's your opinion on that?
So I'm of two minds of this.
William.
Right?
Go ahead.
I'm of two minds of this, right? Because
Yeah,
I do feel that you got to put in the work, right? That look, I've been fortunate to have made the contacts that I've made and have worked on different contracts and worked under Marvel, DC, Dynamite, just because they found me. Right. I didn't solicit work. I didn't audition. I didn't submit anything. They had people find me online and shoot me an email. So I'm a firm believer that if you stay the course and you work on yourself, on your craft, just for the sake of being better at your craft, not for the accolades, not for the money, all that'll come.
Yeah.
But it's got to start internally first, right?
People know a fake person
will notice,
yeah,
and they're going to want to be a part of that,
yes,
because that creates a gravity where people will, they're going to gravitate to that. They're going to want to be a part of that. They're going to, want to solicit you for work, and I'm speaking about that like firsthand because it's happened to me, especially over the course of the past maybe 3 years, Faking it till you make it. Sure. I've seen that too. But those tend to be artists in the game that work off of inspiration, right? Okay. That when an artist is inspired and they produce this amazing piece, it's like seeing a comet in the sky, right? When's the next time we can expect something of that level of quality?
When's the next comet rather?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you put in the work, when you're exercising that muscle often enough, you're producing work at a high level of quality without inspiration. That's where you want to be. That's the sweet spot.
Yeah, there's like you're saying, I agree with that. There's two different things. There's training, dedication, the discipline, like we talked about. And the other one is just natural talent.
Yeah.
Great example is the big debate right now, Cristiano Ronaldo versus Lionel Messi. They're both good for completely different reasons.
Sports.
And I'll give you another one. From the 90s, a movie called Gattaca with Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke was genetically inferior, and he had a genetic ideal younger brother, and they used to play chicken from swimming, and the first person to go back loses. And by the end of it, he beat his genetically superior brother, and the brother said, "How'd you do it?" He says, "Every time I swam, I never quit." He just kept on strengthening himself, where the other person was just naturally stronger. He never had to improve until he was in a scenario where he needed to, and it was too late. And I mean, raw potential is great, but if you don't foster it, it'll only take you so far.
So that's the key right there. And that's what I find in any genre that's creative, where you have the people that are super dedicated that don't come with that, inborn talent, who are working their butts off, versus the people with the innate talent. Now, where you get the double threat is when you have that person with the talent who then decides to dedicate themselves. Usually you don't get that. Usually they're like, well, I already know how to do it without trying. You know what I mean? So I don't have to study. I don't have to try. It just naturally comes out. But when you get that one person that's like, not only am I good, I'm going to strive to do better every day.
That's right.
Wow.
It's sort of like ingraining the philosophy of searching for the next challenge, the next hurdle to get over, the next thing to master.
Yes. Right? And competing with just yourself. I think that's key too.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. You know, we as creatives should, you know, keep in mind that we are all on our own individual journey.
Yes.
You know, Ray may have started his journey before me, you know, so I can't judge where I'm at on my path based on him, you know.
I'm sorry.
This guy Williams a menace.
People in the chat today.
He's a menace today, right?
So Ray's on his path. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you know, we can't base our progress on the next man's progress,
right?
The next progress, right? It's about getting to the next hurdle, right?
My next hurdle is this, right?
Exactly. You know, that I tell my kids all the time, you know, if you're afraid to draw hands, if you're constantly drawing your characters with their hands in their pockets or behind their back, guess what you're doing for the next 3 months?
Hands.
You're doing
for the
hands.
next. However,
you know what I mean? Like
well,
that's what
how they do sushi. There's a Netflix special I watch. It was like, so I forget the man's name, the sushi like god, and his restaurant's in like a subway station in Tokyo, but it's like the guy's name and then dreams of sushi, and it's like in their restaurant you start making egg sushi and you're on that until you perfect it, and it's like 2 years you're making freaking egg sushi before you even touch the fish. That's what I mean? And so guess what? You're doing hands until the hands are good.
Yep, that's right. That's how it should be. Look, before the pandemic, I didn't do any digital work. I didn't do any digital work. It was all traditional, right?
Yeah.
But I felt like I was limiting myself by not learning it. So I taught myself how to do digital in a month, right? Yeah, to where I felt that I was good enough to where I can offer that to my clientele. You know, then the next hurdle was me kind of getting over the fear of using a quill and a brush to ink my work. Before that, it was all Micron. Now, it's the only thing I carry with me at conventions. I bring my Sumi ink. I, squirt it in a little cup, and then I'm dipping my quill, and that's how I do my stuff at shows. You know,
don't listen to Glenn. He's just pushing your buttons. Sorry.
Then the most recent thing is I started painting my work. Before that, it was all marker and colored pencil, a very controlled medium. So now I use watercolor and gouache.
Nice.
You know, gosh, so you know, it's about the maddening search. You know what I'm saying? Like that next thing to conquer. That when you focus on that, you know, being a better craftsman or a better creative at your craft becomes second nature.
You hear that, Ray?
Mm-hmm.
Get writing. Get to work. I only laugh because sometimes on my Facebook page, I love to rattle the cage, and I'll just be like, what are you doing, indie creator? Get to work. And then everybody's like, and they come in with their excuses, and my response is get to work, get to work, get to work. And most of the time it's because I need to get to work. That's why I post that. I'm like, what am I doing right now? This doesn't matter. Laurie needs to get to work. So I'm like, everybody get to work. Just as a reminder, because as a community, it's like, what are you doing? If you're not focused on your craft, you're not getting any better.
Lost time.
It's lost time. And it's hard when we have to do things like marketing and build Kickstarters and, deal with printing errors and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, man, you got to sit down and you got to work on your craft. You got to. William knows. William's, like he said, he's one of the hardest grinders out there. I've seen him.
I like what William said earlier. He says, I'm not trying to be the next Jack Kirby. I'm trying to be
myself.
The best William
Russell.
I really relate to that. Somebody asked about my writing style, and they said, do you take inspiration from anybody else? I said, I like a lot of good writers. I'm a big fan of Peter David, for example. If I'm trying to be the next Peter David, I'm only my top result I can get is second place.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not fair to myself to try and emulate that. I can draw inspiration from, but I'm not trying to be the next anything. I really relate to what William said there.
And I agree with that. And that's why it's like, I'll read so many different genres and authors, just so I don't want to be, oh, Laurie, you like Laurie's writing, it's just like XYZ author. You know what I mean? I want to be my own thing.
Yeah, I don't want to be fan fiction. I would just want to be fiction.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's a lot of people that write excellent fan fiction.
I didn't say it was bad. I just said I don't want to be
I don't want to be that either. Like, I have my own story and I want to do that. That's what I'm currently doing. Unless it's William's story, because I write that one too.
Psycho Sal.
Yeah. I'm working on issue 8 right now. And he's finishing up my cover for issue 6, Path of the Pale Rider, which is awesome. So I can't wait to share it. In fact, William, is it Dave Kemp or Dan Kemp that colors those? Because Dan was here today on the show and you missed him. But one of them does coloring for William, and it's like I forget which one it is because I don't interact with them directly. Yeah, because William handles it, so I forget. You'll have to tell me. But yeah, I was gonna ask him when he was on. I'm like, have you colored my covers? But I didn't want to be like, oh, it's your brother. Oh, okay. I'm like awkward. So anywho, now is the time of the show. We're gonna do some promotion. Woo!
Huzzah.
Check it out. Madcaps number 2 is around the corner. It's gonna be it's Dave and Dan. Wait. See, I still don't know. Who's gonna be coloring the next one, William? That's a good question for issue 6. So anyway, I would like to drop this link for you guys so you can sign up. I am already signed up for notification when this launches. And so, as you know, we've been discussing Madcaps 2 is in progress. There's lots of things being done. And you might as well sign up. Sorry, I hate how this covers the person at the bottom. Sorry, Kenny. You are now Laurie Calcaterra with a zombie head and a cowboy hat.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what we all strive to be someday. Myself included.
There's
anyway.
good, and then there's Laurie Calcaterra with a cowboy hat and a zombie head.
Yeah. That's like pinnacle, right?
So what you can expect in
okay, gotcha.
hold on. No, go ahead, put him back on.
No, he's just selling, like, he uses both of them, so it just depends on like who has an opening right now. And so he's gonna reach out. He's working on inking it right now. And so the next step is color. So it just depends on who has some availability, I'm sure. Yeah.
But the quick synopsis to number 2. At the end of number 1, after these 4 they're not mercenaries. These aren't really warriors or fighters or anything, but they're friends. They help stave off an undead outbreak. They help out the town guard. And they're led to believe that this outbreak had something to do with this fictional drug called weave. They're able to do some investigation, and they're led to believe that it's being manufactured somewhere nearby. The story goes from there. At one point, these individuals, again, not fighters really, even the big guy that's all ceremonial armor, he's not really a fighter, but
I think he's lying to us.
I'm sitting. I am not lying. But I have a bunch of them on standby. The jokes are hard with this father. But
hi, William. Thanks for stopping in.
Good to see you, William. I have, or rather, these 4 friends. They actually have a discussion at some point of, are we biting off more than we can chew here? Like, what are we doing? We're not authorities. Like, so we explore that thought in conjunction with. I'll put it this way: if an individual was to store and deliver illegal substances, you're probably going to have hired help, and it's not going to be nice. And that's about as far as I can go with the story. But if you click on notification, then you'll know as soon as it launches. This is issue 2 of 3. This is a big. This stands alone by itself, this issue, but it's also a big setup for number 3. I've said this in another podcast as well. So they say in volleyball, bump, set, and spike.
Yes.
Number 3 spikes, and it spikes hard. So this is it's going to be good. The payoff is amazing. I can promise you that.
So make sure, because we don't have an actual launch date yet, but it is coming. So make sure you hit that notification button. Basically, all you're doing is saying, hey, shoot me an email when this goes live, and then you can head over to the campaign and go shop around and see what works for you. If you want to head over to the Madcaps #1. You can, if you haven't seen this and you're not, familiar, we kind of, I have it. I backed this and it's beautiful. I can definitely say that you are missing out if you haven't gotten this. But
issue 1 will be available on the
where?
second Kickstarter.
Okay. Do you have a store or anything that people can buy it for, like Christmas?
Not for Christmas. The plan is to start selling these post Kickstarter once all 3 are launched. It'll be one trade paperback.
Ooh, so exciting. I love it. But yeah, come check out the art here. You can get a good example of the feel. It's wild. There's
Madrakis vomiting lightning. Literally,
yeah, I mean, seriously,
lightning.
It's a wild ride, you guys. So, where can our let me get rid of that for a second. Where can our illustrious chat find you, gentlemen? So go ahead and go through some of your socials so we can give you all a follow. Kenny, I'll be giving you a follow because you and I just met. Super excited. So
thank you.
Let's tell everybody where they can follow you guys.
Go ahead, Kenny.
So wild_inks Ken, the way you see it on the screen.
Yeah.
You can find me everywhere under that name. Or you can just simply Google me, Kenny Calderon, artist, because there's like a Kenny Calderon that's like a real estate agent in like North Carolina.
So that one.
Not that one. You want to go with artist, right? And yeah, I am currently on an indie book now, but cover commissions, private commissions, custom artwork, sketch cards, hit me up. I'm open.
Cool. Maybe I'll hire you. Dun, 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 dun.
Listen,
hint.
I'll shoot you a link to my portfolio.
Yes, please. At least I'm friendly, right? Coming on the show. Or you might question my sanity. There's that too. Ray, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook as DM Ray. You can find me on Instagram, what is now known as the infamous Twixter, as Raymond the DM. You can find me on, well, it's not Twitter, it's got an X in it, so it's Twitter.
I know.
And it's infamous now, lots of controversy, but I'm on there. And what else am I on? I'm also on, you can find the Madcaps Facebook page, which is at 399 followers right now. I'm looking for a 400th follower.
Am I following? I'm looking to go look.
You type in the Madcaps comic, it should come up. And I'm just really excited to finally be able to express. This is my first time writing a comic, and I'm very much enjoying the process, and it's torture not being able to talk about the whole damn thing.
Yeah. No spoilers. Okay? None. I'm already following. Sorry, I can't be 400.
All good. The only spoilers I have is expired milk in my fridge. That's it.
Okay.
But the true optimist doesn't call it spoiled milk. They call it cheese.
Ew.
Don't eat it, though, because you'll get sick.
Don't eat it.
Consequences.
Get some consequences. All right, guys. That's the show. Thanks for coming. I can't remember. We do have someone next week. We'll be doing some recorded unboxing shenanigans and other things on Christmas Eve and on New Year's Eve. So that will be happening. But if you are interested in being on the Tuesday Morning Brew, let me know. We're booked out to, I think we're in mid-February at this point. So make sure you go grab a spot so you can get on the show. If you have things coming up like Kickstarters or campaigns and you want to be on the show while you're live, please plan ahead so I can make space for you. There's nothing that breaks my heart more than people like, hey, I'm going to be live next week. Can I come on your show?
See you in 8 weeks.
See you in 2 months. Yeah, exactly. So keep that in mind when you're coming on. But I wish you all to have a great day. Be excellent to each other and kiss your babies. We will see you all next week. Bye.
Click on the tube and feel the vibe. Every show you crave right here live. Heroes and villains clash in the night. Madness Comic Network sets it right. Scroll through the list, find what you need. Epic battle. battles and fast-paced speed, from capes to cosmic space delight. Tune in and watch your favorites ignite. On Facebook, share the thrill so grand. On X, the buzz across the land. Madness Comic Network all around. In every episode, joy is found. Uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic brightens days. Hey! New uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic